Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining in for today's webinar. Today, we'll be discussing about how you can manage your returns from Diwali sales in such a manner that it becomes advantageous for your business, as well as what are the strategies you can adopt to unlock growth from end of year sales, the upcoming end of year sales, right? Today, as our expert speakers, we have Mr. Ranjan Sharma, who is the CIO and Head of Supply Chain and Captive E-commerce at Bestseller India, which is one of the foremost fashion and lifestyle companies in India that owns a range of more than 20 brands, including brands such as Jack and Jones, Vero, Moda, and Only. He's an experienced leader in the technology, supply chain, and e-commerce domains with more than 2 decades in the retail industry. We also have with us Mr. Omkar Karandikar, who is the head of planning and design at WareIQ. He comes with 2 decades of professional experience and proficiency in the supply chain domain with leading companies like Flipkart and Miabak Consulting. So welcome, a very hearty welcome to both the panelists.
Thank you, Aman.
So thanks, Aman.
All right.
From here on out, I'll hand it over to Omkar to take you all through the webinar presentation.
Thanks, Aman. So Ranjan, nice to connect with you again on this topic.
Same here.
So Ranjan, let's start with one question that always hits you. So traditionally, fashion has been divided into autumn, winter, spring, summer, and those kind of seasons, right? But recently, what we have seen is the traditional 4 season has been replaced by something in fast fashion, which is 52 season sale. Every week, there is something new which is coming, right? And Bestseller is one of the first or one of the leading entrant into this this initiative. So how do you think and how do you see this transition going on, and what are the pros cons that you can see from your side on this?
Yeah, thanks, Omkar. And I think moving to the 52 season was not a choice, but was something that we had to do if we are to be there and be relevant for the customer in this fast fashion business, because this is a very, very young customer who is asking for newer options, newer products on a continuous basis. We've seen that our customers normally come back to us in the stores maybe in around 45 days to 50 days, they repeat, which means that they need to see some new products in the store, because the first thing that the customer walks into the store and if he's a regular customer, the first thing he will ask for is "Naya kya hai?"
Yeah.
And you have to deliver the newer options to him. You have to tell him that these are the new things which have actually come in the last few weeks, which means that you have to be relevant enough for that young customer, that young consumer. But this transition is not easy. It's a very, very challenging one, because your entire supply chain has to be geared up to be able to, including your manufacturing lines, which could be spread across different geographies, different continents, and with COVID and so much of challenges in supply chain that we've seen over the last couple of years, this has made the matter more worse. But nevertheless, we've still been trying to attempt. Have we reached there? Not yet. We've initiated the journey of moving to launch every option, a few options every week. Maybe we don't go down to 52 season because obviously you will have about 6 to 8 weeks of end of season sale as well through between the two seasons twice a year, which means you will be closely there about 44 to 46 seasons is what we are talking of in a year. And we are pretty much moving very, very fast in that direction. Not set a timeline when should we be able to reach it, because we are trying to fix a lot of those problems in terms of the supply chain visibility and the transparency that comes in from the manufacturers and our vendors. But yes, we're very, very close to about reaching there.
Perfect. So Ranjan, I think Bestseller is pretty dominant in offline channel. You have stores in every city, every mall, and every corner. At the same time, you are also operating an e-commerce channel at backend, right? So how do you see these two channels coexist? What are the synergies that you see, and what are the complementary advantages you see with each one of them?
So just to give you a perspective, through our own offline channel, we are available in about 41 cities in the country, and including our partner stores, we will be in 161 cities in the country, which is a very, very large network, offline network that we have. What we've done is we've been able to work on our inventory where we've been able to seamlessly create a single view of the inventory across different channels and being able to leverage that inventory, because inventory is the most expensive thing, investment that we have in fashion retail or any retail per se. So we've tried to leverage that inventory to be made available across these channels. As of now, we any particular product that gets ordered from either our own e-commerce or from partner e-commerce like Myntra, Flipkart, Amazon, Nykaa, and then a few more. We are going ahead in that direction. If you order for a product which is on any of these portals or our own e-commerce or .in site websites, these will be potentially delivered from either from our stores or from our distribution center. But the first priority is the nearest store that we deliver, because that's the promise that we are making in terms of delivering faster, because the customer needs the product much more faster than you would have ever expected earlier. We've not gone the reverse. Yeah, we've not gone the reverse way as of now, where if a customer requires a product in a store because we don't hold any inventory now at the e-commerce, but hence we don't need that possibility as of now. But what happens is, if there is one store where a customer walks in and he needs a product, if it is available in some other store or even at the distribution center, we are able to deliver. Earlier, that was a challenge where we were holding inventory even in the marketplaces, where we had that problem of the reverse. But now we do not need that reverse journey, because we are able to fulfill the offline customers' needs as well, even if the product is not there in that particular store.
Okay, so you raised a pretty interesting point. You said the speed is pretty interesting, because traditionally lifestyle is supposed to be a category where speed was not so important, but you see that perception changing now, because you just said the speed is critical for the customers also.
I think the customers are spoiled for choice, and when you can get your grocery in 10 minutes delivered at your home, which means that even before you blink, you placed an order, and even before you blink, they've got that delivered to your home. These are setting expectations for customers, where even for lifestyle category, customers are not willing to wait. So if you look at, most of the cancellation happens in the first 4 to 8 hours, and the faster you are able to ship out, the more you are able to control in terms of cancellations, order cancellations.
Right. So coming to this cancellations, how do you see how important it is to reinventorize this cancellation? Because this is inventory in transit. So how do you see this?
This is one of the biggest pieces, because imagine if I have to sell 100 pieces, and if just giving a hypothetical situation, if 40% is the return rate, including the RTO, which is normal in these days for any other marketplaces, which means that you will have to at least hold 40 pieces extra, which is always going to be in transit somewhere, sitting somewhere, which is a huge loss for you, which is 40% of more inventory is something that you have to hold. And then if you take more time to inward it, you might add another 15-20% more inventory to be able to sell those 100 pieces. So the speed is the essence in terms of how quickly can you get it back, quickly can you and mind you, it's also about, with all the checks and balances, because there are a lot of challenges in returns. It's not a simple solution. It's not an easy one, where customers might return a wrong product intentionally, unintentionally. The customers, the fake products also come back many a times as returns. So which means that your return process has to be seamless enough and tighter enough. And imagine this is no more handled only at the distribution center, where you have a skilled manpower to be able to do this. This is spread across so many more stores. This is spread across 300 micro fulfillment centers, which is our stores. across the country, and training all of these people, it's not an easy thing to do. But I think that's something that's a challenge. But I think making it available, setting the right systems and processes to make this much more smoother and faster, without these people not bothering too much about if there is a wrong product which has come in and how do I go back and raise a ticket, or if there is a product which has been which is damaged or defective, how do I raise a ticket and raise the claims. We are still trying to work a few things. Some of these problems we've been able to solve, where we are trying to build those integrations within our systems where where we are able to raise those tickets. But I think most of the marketplaces do not have the capability to raise the tickets automatically. They do not have the capability to integrate for raising those tickets with these tools. So I think that's an area that we've been trying to pursue with a lot of those marketplaces to make that seamless.
Absolutely. So,
but making this inventory faster is very, very important, very, very critical.
Yes. So, Ranjan, I think one more thing I've seen is probably you at Bestseller may not face that problem, but typically the small unorganized sector of fashion, which is typically the Surat sellers and all those things, right? So typically these sellers are off for a couple of weeks just after Diwali. So there is a big sale push which happens at BBD or Great Indian Shopping Festival, and then they are off for a couple of weeks after that. So after this BBD or after this Diwali sale which happens, typically there is a shortage of inventory in supply chain. And that is where we have seen the returns also pitch in for that, because if you are saying the returns which are since the volume itself was forward volume itself was pretty high, the returns which are coming back after the sale are also decent, and they are the ones who help sustain the business after the sale event typically.
True.
Right?
True.
Now you are handling a big portfolio, right? So how important is data for you? How do you check this data, and how do you make use of the data which is getting generated at your end?
So Omkar, multiple data points is what we need. One is in terms of where do I place the inventory, which is the right place, because we not hold inventory in one single place. So placement of the inventory, what inventory, when, where it needs to be placed at what point of time is very, very critical.
Yes, absolutely.
That comes with a fair bit of our past data and our forecasting models and the business knowledge that we need to bring in together to be able to do all of that, to be able to identify where we need to put place what inventory. The second piece is about the faster replenishments, wherever there are cut sizes. And the replenishments, mind you, are not going to happen only between the distribution center and the stores. It could be also moving inventory from store to store, and that's a big ask. That's a big challenge, and that's a huge cost and a huge demand from a store's perspective. Because imagine these poor guys; they're salespeople. They're not equipped to do packing and unpacking and moving out inventory. But that's become a kind of the job, a part of their job. Very much to be able to keep moving inventory at a very, very faster speed. And we are constantly improving on our systems and processes to be able to make that more and more faster and more efficient, and make it much more idiot proof to be able to move those inventories.
Absolutely. So again, this whole thing is all about offering speed to the customer.
Yep. Yeah. So one thing which Omnichannel has also done is it has given us some amount of breather in terms of availability of the inventory, which means that even if the inventory is not physically available in a place, I will still be able to fulfill that demand for a customer. But what it has done is the challenge that has got added is we need to do this at a speed. Absolutely. And hence making the right inventory available at the right place is the essence, which is a constant endeavor and the constant pressure that we are always under.
Absolutely. Now, coming back to other topic, which is EOSS, right? You said there are 4 to 8 EOSS seasons, right? So the question is, right now we are going towards winter EOSS, right? How do you see that as that as a important thing. How do you see USS? What is your North Star metric when you are going to run USS as a construct?
We normally run two EOSs in a year. One will be around end of June, early July. The second one will be end of December.
Yeah.
Uh, just to give you a perspective, what you call autumn, winter, and spring, summer. Autumn, winter is slightly heavier in terms of the overall revenue because it is tilted more towards autumn, winter for a few reasons. One reason is that you sell winter wears, which are more expensive.
Yes.
The second is it is also tilted a lot more towards the festive season.
Yes.
Which is the likes of Diwali, the Shera, Christmas, New Year, marriage seasons, all of that put together. Hence, the uplift is normally high here. But the other big challenge that you have is if you don't sell something in spring, summer, you still have a leverage of being able to sell that product in, say, in August, July,
Absolutely.
September, where in parts of the country where it is not as becoming cooler. But if you are left with winter wear merchandise, you have very little window, very small window to be able to sell it. One is we must appreciate that the selling winter wear window only starts sometimes in November in most parts of the country, and then it starts moving more towards the northern side of the country where it sells the most. From an offline retail perspective, because that's where it is much more colder. The more you keep moving towards west and south, it is not as cold until and unless, yes, people are traveling, they buy those winter wears, but not the heavy winter wears are. That's again which doesn't sell in these parts of the country. So you need to also be wary about where to launch what kind of categories, what kind of products. And how do you keep moving? Because the way how we do is we launch heavy winter wears again in maybe even in Bangalore, in Kochi, Hyderabad, Chennai, Mumbai as well. But then as we keep coming closer to the end of nearing to the end of season sale, we keep moving these heavy winter wears to the northern part of the country because the probability to sell them is much more higher. Otherwise, if this is leftover, you've got to store it for 6 months, 6 to 8 months at least. Before you will get the next window to sell it. By that time, the merchandise is not going to be in the right shape and form to be able to sell it. One. The second is storing this merchandise is anyway a huge cost in terms of, because it takes more space. So you'll need more space, and handling this is going to be tougher, especially if you are selling PU and leather jackets. Because they need different kinds of ways to handle it. It's not something that you can keep it the way how you handle clothes.
Yes.
Then the other piece is also about the blocked working capital that stays there. So hence it is pertinent that you start liquidating within EOSs. But we've seen much better trends in winter wear. Where we've seen very good response for us, and our brands are pretty well known for winter wear, where people come, the customers actually come in, and we've been able to grow our winter wear share year on year. So which is a healthy sign for us. But then you need to be very cautious. You cannot go overboard.
Absolutely. So this is a very tricky area, right? You just said around November is when people will try to look out for winter wear, and typically end of December is when we have EOSS, right? So it's just maybe around 1.5 months where you have actual opportunity to sell it at full price, right?
Yeah.
So how do you approach EOSS? What's the North Star metric that you have for EOSS?
So EOSS normally, the way how we approach EOSS is, first we want to liquidate the autumn merchandise, normally what you call, because that's the priority. Because winter wear, you still have an opportunity to be able to sell. And though we have winter wear on discounts in December when EOSS starts, but then it is at a very low. And we have very sharp matrix in terms of what we buy and how much we buy, because that's a very key thing. No matter how much accuracy you bring in, you'll still have a few styles which will bomb, which will not work well for you that season. You have to find those early triggers, and either two things you can do. One is move to the place where it can sell, where the probability to be able to sell that product is higher, or the second is you liquidate it early, so that whenever the customer wants to buy similar products, this customer can actually upgrade and move to a product which could be even slightly expensive but at a better discount or a higher discount.
Right, right. So are you looking at customer acquisition at USS, new customer acquisition, tryouts, and
Yeah, so EOSS normally, so we are in the category that we are positioned in. We just fall below bridge to luxury, which means that we are into premium category,
yes,
and we are above the mass or the economy
yes,
one. So that's a very sweet spot that we are positioned in. So there are a lot of customers who actually new customers who actually start buying with us during these EOSs, and eventually they keep upgrading themselves and start moving to the full price seasons as well, buying fresh merchandise. So it's also one of a strategy to acquire new customers.
right. So Ranjan, just to highlight the importance of placing inventory in the right place and in the right size and shape. What we have come up at WareIQ is a SaaS-based tool, which actually will help all the players in the market to do something similar to this. So one of the things we realize is actually the importance of forecasting, right? And forecasting in fashion won't work on historical sales data, right? So what we have approached it is basically attribute-based building blocks. So our tool can analyze product sale with an AI model, which will understand whether a particular fabric sells well in one zone, or whether a size sells well in one particular zone. And that zone can be defined as a city. It can be defined as a catchment area of a store, which can be a pin code or something similar to that, or it can be a complete set of multiple states. So it can be configured at various levels. The idea is simple. We need to understand what sales where. Second thing it will also help you in doing is identify or classify material or classify SKUs into what is likely to sell more and what is not likely to sell more. You'll also have something for sake of selection. The width will be there. And third thing it will help you in doing is smart inventory placement. It will help you in placing the inventory as close to customer as possible. And as you rightly said, there is a huge requirement of stock balancing. One store might have something in excess, the other store might be having deficit, or maybe typically after the sales season, some sizes will be higher in north and some sizes will be higher in south, and maybe you need to rebalance the size sets across the country. So another thing which this tool helps you in doing is balancing of inventory across different zones. So this is something called inventory logic that we are working on. It's a start. We are just trying to put together all our learnings into a platform which will help everyone democratize this whole idea of planning and try to help everyone move the inventory in fastest possible way. So that is what we are coming up with. It will, as I said, it will help you in identifying what is selling where, and it will just try to push the right inventory in right location. I think we have a question. Let me just check on that. Aman, do we have questions?
No question as of now, but a comment to the attendees. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the Q&A box and our panelists will take them up towards the end of the webinar.
All right. So I think that is all that we had to discuss. Any questions? Then we can take on the questions now. Ranjan, you want to add something from your side?
Yeah, I think Omkar, this is a very great area to be working upon, and I think this is a very interesting space, because most of the fashion brands, if you look at, we all struggle in this space to be able to identify either in terms of placement of the inventory in different distribution centers or the stores. No matter what you do from a assortment planning perspective, but then in season is something that you struggle most of the times to be able to identify, and it needs a lot of data and
Yes.
someone with great sense of data understanding to be able to identify, understand this, and execute this. I think it's a great area to be working on, which I am hoping that this works seamlessly with the ERPs to be
Absolutely.
able to enable the execution as well, because that's the key. And the faster you are able to execute this, and more trust you are able to bring in from the merchandising team, I think it definitely solves a very, very large problem, which is humanly not possible to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And data being more and more important now, I think this is one area where a structured approach in data can help the business grow fast.
Absolutely.
Another piece that I have seen in e-commerce typically is e-commerce has one advantage where you can ship the inventory nationally, right? But it has a big drawback also, because if I ship the inventory nationally, I'm spending up to 25 to 30 rupees more, right? And a lot of times brands are not aware of these costs, which are hidden costs essentially. And because of that, the whole idea of P&L can go for a toss. If I'm shipping inventory placing in wrong location, I'll still get the sale, but I'm going to spend a lot more on shipping the inventory to the customers. Simultaneously, there will be a drop in conversion also in case it is not available at speed. As you rightly pointed out, I think the speed is the most important thing that we are indexing on in this e-commerce business. And that is what is going to be a important driver for conversions now. So that's the idea. We want to improve the conversion, and we want to make things available to customers as fast as possible, and yet not bloat the inventory, because typically what we have seen, you can do this. And this advantage of this inventory logic is we are also going to focus on bad inventory. Before it becomes bad, we'll get triggers so that you won't load inventory in wrong location, right?
Or you're able to liquidate that at a much lower discount,
Absolutely.
rather than marking it down heavily during end of season sale.
So we have the output of this inventory logic is pretty simple. We have only two lists. One is called red list, one is blue list. Red list is the case where you need replenishment. The zone SKU combinations where we are running short of inventory based on the sales history, we will flag it off for replenishment, and replenishment can happen from balancing, or it can be a fresh trigger. And blue list are the SKUs again at SKU and zone. And again, zone can be a store also. At SKU zone combination, blue list will tell you the inventory which is excess in a particular location. So before it becomes bad, you will be able to work on that, and it will liquidate faster. That's the idea. And it will also have elements of AI-based suggestions. So let's say blue list, I'm talking about excess inventory. So it will help you in deciding what is the best possible discounting rate at which you will be able to liquidate at most efficient way. Because what we have seen typically from our past data is more the discount, more the sale doesn't work. So there is an inflection point for discount where let's say 20% discount can work better than 25% discount.
Yeah.
So those insights also will be made available. Also, the blue list will have features like bundling. You'll be able to combine something which is selling well with something probably not selling well. Maybe in Jack and Jones, you'll have a lot of t-shirts, right? So you'll be able to combine two t-shirts or three t-shirts together so that the overall SKU can sell better than the slow mover. All the tips and tricks which are coming from the traditional retail, those supermarkets and hypermarkets normally do this. So you're just trying to build those insights also in this tool.
Absolutely. So I think interesting space to be in.
Absolutely.
I think there's some question. Somebody has just posted a question.
Yes. Yeah. So Rohit has a question for Ranjan. Is there any way to retarget customers online who have visited offline stores?
Currently, no. We're still building that capability. Currently, we do not have a way to be able to retarget a customer who has visited an offline store and not bought from it. Because we do not have an app, neither do we have a way to identify the customer. But in the next 8 to 10 months, we are working on something where we will be able to seamlessly connect our online and our offline stores, even from a customer identification perspective. Though a huge question still remains about customers' privacy. So as long as the customer is willingly ready to identify himself, we will be able to identify a customer who has maybe walked into an offline store and not bought, or bought something but still has something in his cart, or he has gone to his social media, looked at some product, or gone to the website and done something, or whichever channel. So because digital is not even digital channel is no more. It's about the .in website. It's also about he could go to different commerce places or like a WhatsApp commerce, like a social commerce. He could have looked at those products in multiple places. So it's not an easy thing to do today, given the way how commerce is expanding and the way how it is blowing up big. Every day you have a new avenue for commerce. So bringing them all together, it's not an easy one to do, but then at least we are in the first phase, at least to connect our e-commerce to the offline stores and bring that two data points together, so that we are able to identify a customer as long as he's willing to reveal himself.
We have another question. Is there a thumb rule on the SLAs regarding the SLAs that are there for RTOs for CODs?
There isn't any thumb rule. If the question is to me, I don't think there is any thumb rule around RTOs. It varies from brand to brand, category to category. What kind of a category you're selling? If it's a very, very standard category, most of the times the RTO is going to be low. But if it is a very high fashion category, where there is more impulse buy, then the possibility of RTO is going to be a little higher. So it varies from category to category, brand to brand, and again, multiple factors actually affect that. In terms of when I say multiple factors, one of the factors is how quickly have you shipped that product, or how late have you shipped that product. That also could be a factor which could impact your RTO. How are you keeping your customer informed about the entire journey? His post-purchase journey is also could also impact the RTO. So there are many factors which impact RTO.
Perfect. And I can share my experience in Flipkart. So there are categories which are high engagement categories, like for example, mobile phones, right? Where people spend maybe months also to decide what they want. So these categories typically see a lot lesser RTO as compared to something which is impulse buys, which is fashion, or even for that matter, home kind of segment. So that's a percentage of RTO will vary. COD again is something typically in India we can see around 45 to 50% COD easily, but there are some brands which have recently moved towards no COD policy as well. So it's taking all shapes and fashion. Now coming to SLA, typically what we have in FCs is typically whatever comes back as RTO has to be reinventorized between 24 to 48 hours minimum. 48 hours is maximum upper cutoff limit for SLA for reinventorization. The reason for that is if it is in good shape, if it is in good shape to sell again, it has to be made available for customers to buy. And any delay in this in this is actually a loss of working capital as well as loss of opportunity to sell. So reinventorization of inventory in terms of SLAs is pretty much there. We are anywhere between 24 to 48 hours. Why not as quickly as fresh inwards is because there is a lot of checks and balance which we'll have to do. There are some kind of refurbishment also which happens at times. You'll have to iron the goods, iron the SKUs, or fold it again, re-tag some of them. So all those things take a little bit of time, and hence it's a little bit slower than the fresh invert. But that's about the SLA of it. Does that answer the question, Bharat? All right.
We have another question for Ranjan. What is your view on BNPL or pay in 3 in offline stores? Excuse me.
So yeah, buy now, pay later. A very, very interesting concept. I remember having implemented EMI option on fashion almost about 7-8 years back, and I did not have any takers for it at that point of time, because it's a BNPL is an extension of paying on EMI. at a later date. This is more of something which has evolved. But yes, in luxury fashion, this definitely exists. A huge opportunity is there from a BNPL perspective. But then looking at the very, very young customers as well, BNPL is catching up a lot of people's eyes, where there could be young customers who might not be able to afford or might not have the money to be able to buy by paying upfront at that point of time. Uh, but yes, so those customers are availing it, but credit cards still, and most of these young customers might not even have a credit card, because they might not be into that age bracket where they could get a credit card as well. So yes, BNPL is picking up, but it's a very, very slow process yet in at least fashion as a category. In the space that we are in, fashion is very, very large. So we are in the premium segment, and that segment is where I'm saying it's not as fast to pick up.
Perfect. All right. Any more questions? Otherwise, we can close. So thanks, Ranjan, for joining in. It was pretty interesting to have your insights on the topic. I hope the attendees also find it interesting. And thanks again for sharing time for us. And all the attendees also, thanks for your time, and hope it was equally interesting for every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Aman, and thanks Omkar for hosting me. And I really love this discussion, because this is very, very close to my heart. Because I am a supply chain guy, I'm a technology guy, and I straddle between both of them. And e-commerce is something that I've been running for a while now. So I love this topic, which is very, very interesting, and we are every day trying to learn something new and evolve from there.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Thank you so much, Ranjan.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Omkar.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone,
Bye.
for joining in. Have a good day. Goodbye.